Paltrocast.
Alex, aside from doing press where they ask you the same questions over and over and over again, good day for you so far?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, and I don't mind. This is when I'm making a film that's more about something topical. I don't mind talking about the same thing over and over again because it's important to me. So it's all good.
Well, you are incredibly hard to pigeonhole these days. The last 5 years, us longtime fans finally got that Bill and Ted reboot that we were hoping for, which is fantastic. I, being a music person, love the Zappa documentary. I, being a person who watches YouTube every day, loves the YouTube effect, etc. So very busy 5 years or so for you, right?
Yeah, it's been busy. I mean, honestly, adding Bill and Ted into that mix was kind of the not the straw that broke the camel's back, but definitely the one extra added thing that had to be figured out. But I've been on a pretty good run on the docs for a little while, and I very much enjoy making them. And I'm working on other kinds of narrative and doing some more acting. But we did have a few things, and it was crazy because all that stuff came out in the middle of COVID. So it was like I had sort of 3 movies out at the same time in the middle of a pandemic, which was 2020 was bananas on a number of levels, not the least of which what we cover in this doc on a global historical political scale. So it's nice to be a little bit more relaxed right now in a few ways.
According to IMDb, you are not relaxed because there's upcoming roles for you, to say the least, with adulthood and all that. But we're here to talk about the YouTube effect. When did you actually lock this film? Because IMDb calls it a 2022 picture, but it's new to us.
Yeah, well, we finished the film and then we premiered it at Tribeca, which is why I think IMDb has that date. Our world premiere was at Tribeca Film Festival in 2022. And what standard, we spent the last year on the circuit all over the world. So we've been showing the film in festivals all over the world and also in high schools and colleges and doing like an educational tour in preparation for getting it out into the public. So I'm very excited. I'm really excited to do a partnership with Draft House because I've been showing movies at literally since the week it opened. And I love those folks. So we're really excited to be getting it out, and the response has been really good. And also, I feel like the film is largely, as you know from having watched it, kind of largely a relitigation of 2020, looking at technology and specifically Google and YouTube's role and how we got there. And I think we're really only just at a time where people can kind of take a deep breath and process that extremely significant year in global history. And so I think it's actually been good for us to not have come out sooner, which is why we planned it more this way, like give everyone a beat, let everyone process. And so we've found it's actually been true. We've had a really good response to the movie. I think people are ready to look at exactly what the heck happened and why. So,
yeah, without spoiling too much, what you just talked about is maybe the cons of YouTube. The trailer of it also goes into the positives of it, that it's the spread of information where people get a platform, people are making living, etc. How does YouTube feel about this? Any idea?
I mean, I was really honest with them when I was talking to Google, and talking to Susan and to Steve about what we were doing. We're very transparent. But it's true. I've been making movies around technology for a very long time, and I'm not anti-tech. I'm a tech, supporter. And my general thesis around technology is that people often misconstrue that world as something separate from the rest of the world, and I really don't. I see that the issues that you find on social media and on technology platforms are societal issues, right? They're not an issue that are literally only tied to an algorithm or to some kind of weird magic on technology. And for that matter, I wouldn't want to pull my kids off of these platforms. I wouldn't want to just sort of paint them with a fully negative brush. I think that's a mistake. And it also doesn't help us solve the issues because the issues are with us. They're with human beings. So I think YouTube has done and continues to do an enormous amount of good. Google continues to do an enormous amount of good. It's a massive company. It would be extremely inaccurate to just look at it and go, oh, it's like bad things happen there, so it's all bad. So I'm on YouTube all the time. My kids are on YouTube all the time. What we're looking at are implications of these platforms on the planet. And I think a lot of that is critical because we're at a critical juncture in society at the moment.
Well, two quick questions, and then I'm going to let you go. And the first one is, and I'll give the answer to me first, so you don't feel violated. YouTube recommendations, the algorithm is talked about in this movie. My YouTube recommendations, it's usually Kiss bootlegs, Van Halen bootlegs, retired professional wrestlers complaining, controversial comedians ranting. That's what comes up as recommended for me. What comes up on your recommendations usually for YouTube?
I mean, it's fairly benign. To be fair to them, and we talk about this in the film, I don't really think it's so much an algorithmic issue. I think that there was a problem with the YouTube recommender algorithm when it was first launched, which I think they've largely fixed. I would say that the issues, and we talk about them in the film, are more parasocial. I think that the idea of having a visual medium like what you and I are doing right now, where we're talking into these webcams, it's like we're like hanging out together in your living room or my kitchen, is extremely visceral and powerful. So I think that has drawn a lot of people in to some of the darker aspects of the platform, where they feel like people are just hanging out talking to them, and it's very intimate and it's very, very convincing. And the problem then is monetization. So I think that the real issue with YouTube and all of these platforms is the business model, wherein they gain huge profit by monetizing this content. And usually the darker and more aggressive that content, the more money they make. And that's a big problem that has to get fixed.
Well said. Well, last question before I let you go. Your role in Bill and Ted really helped preserve the Van Halen legacy in a great way in years when the band wasn't doing anything. I'm curious if there's ever feedback from David Lee Roth or any members of Van Halen of, hey, thank you for keeping our name alive.
I mean, I don't think that we would be so cocky to think we kept the name alive, though. You know, we hung out with them at the Bill and Ted 2 premiere, which was really powerful for us. We asked Eddie to be in every single movie. In every single movie, he said no. Right. So when we got to Bill and Ted 3, and this is a somewhat bittersweet ending, you know, we had a whole sequence, which ended up being the Dave Grohl sequence. That's supposed to be Van Halen's house that we go to. That's how it was originally written.
Really?
We went to Eddie and we were like, would you please be in the third movie? And he was like, finally, we're back. He's like, you know what, you guys, this one I would have done, but he was dying at that point.
Yeah.
So he was already quite sick. He didn't tell us that he was literally going to pass, but he was like, I'm not well, and I can't do it, but I really appreciate these films, and we all love them. And if I wasn't sick, I would absolutely come down to New Orleans and shoot this with you. So it had kind of a bittersweet end, but it was a running joke in the Bill and Ted amongst the little family of ours that every single movie would be like knocking on Eddie's door and he'd be like, no, and slamming the door in our face. So it was not for lack of trying.
Well, that is fantastic to hear that you did try on that end, but really looking forward to the next thing that you've got coming out, whether it's another documentary about a musician like Zappa, technology, you acting and doing comedy, whatever it is, Alex, keep up the great work and looking forward to what's to come.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting.
Paltrocast.